Hi fashion lovers, welcome back again to another amazing tutorial on this channel. Today's video is a requested tutorial from one of you on IG on how to make this one shoulder side ruched gown with an eye-low cut. So in this video I'll be sharing with you from the pattern cutting to the sewing process of how I made this gown for myself. Now you can see my recreation, so if this is what you're interested in learning, do keep on watching and don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you're yet to subscribe. So firstly, I folded my pattern into two, and then I've already gone ahead to rule out the horizontal lines that I need, which are my bust point line, half length, hip line, and then the full length of the gown. So for the full length, I made use of my full length of gown, which is 60 inches plus 1 inch for folding allowance in case you want to fold the hem of your gown. So from the starting line, I will take my shoulder measurement divided by 2, which is 8 inches. So then I'll come down by 1 inch for my shoulder slants, and then I'll be going down again by 8 inches for my arm side length, which is my bust measurement divided by 6 plus 1.5 inch. And then on that arm side length, I went ahead to mark half of my shoulder line again to get a straight line. So next I mark my neck width of 3 inches, and then I'll connect that point to my shoulder slants. And then I'll go ahead to divide what I have on my arm side length to get my arm side curve. Then I came in by half an inch. Then on my bust point line, I divided my bust measurement into 4. So I went ahead to connect the 3 points together to form my arm curve. So the next thing I'm going to do is take all my body measurements on the pattern and then add 1 inch. So I've already gone ahead to mark my bust measurement, and then I added 1 inch. Then for my half length, I took my waist measurement divided by 4, then add 1 inch. For this pattern, we're not making use of a dart, so there's no need to add that allowance. Then for the hip, I also went ahead to take quarter of my hip measurement with 1 inch seam allowance. So I will just go ahead to use my straight ruler to connect from the hip line straight down to my hemline. So after doing this, I went ahead to use my tracing wheel to trace out this measurement on the other side of the pattern so it can be open like this. But if you don't have a tracing wheel, then you can just go ahead to sketch the same process on the other side. So I came in by 0.5 inch on one side of the shoulder, and then I went ahead to connect that to my armhole length. So I'll also be doing the same thing for the other side of the shoulder. This is to make the shoulder of the dress to be smaller, just as the style is. So on the left side of my pattern, I'll go ahead to mark 3 inches for my new shoulder width, and then I'll connect that 3 inches point to the right side of my arm side, so which is going to be my one shoulder. So for this particular tutorial, because it is a dress that requires a lot of pattern paper, I'll be cutting both the front and the back together. So if the neck seems too high for you, then you can go ahead to deepen it. So I went ahead to measure from the midpoint of my pattern paper. I measured 5 inches, and so I went ahead to redraw another line, which is going to be my one shoulder style line. So you can even be using this same style line for both the front and the back when you cut on your fabric. So the next thing I'll be doing is cutting out the eye-low for the hem of the gown. So on the left side, which is the side that has the strap, is going to be the lower side. So I went up by 16 inches. And then I'll be using my straight ruler to connect to the right side of the gown length. So after drawing a straight line, I'll go ahead to cut out that part. So next, I'm going to cut out the opening that has the ruching detail, which is on the right side, as you can see on the picture. So I'll be using my waistline as a guide. So what I went ahead to do was to go up by 3 inches from my waistline, and then I came down by 3 inches, and then I just went ahead to mark 3 inches in a circular form, so which is going to be my cut open or cut out. So after connecting the circle, I just went ahead to use my marker to make it visible. So that part that I'm shading will be cut out. But before then, I'll be drawing some lines from the circle to the other side of the pattern, as you can see. And after connecting all those lines, I'll be spreading them on my fabric to get the fullness for my ruching detail. And so then I'll also be adding more slash lines to the side, and this is where I'll be adding the fullness for the flare detail. So I just went ahead to make all the slash lines visible using my marker, so you can see the lines I'll be cutting out. And so the little arrows that I added to the circle part is just signifying that I'll be cutting open from the cutout part, which is the circle part, to the other side. And then for the slash lines going down, I will be cutting it out completely from the pattern. So meaning the other slash lines going to the other side of the pattern on the waistline is going to be cut out, but not to the end, because I will spread it on my fabric to get the fullness. And then the other slash lines going downwards, I'll be cutting it out completely to get extra flare. So I just went ahead to label those slash lines 1, 2, and 3 so that when I cut it out, I will not make a mistake when putting it on my fabric. So guys, just watch closely and see how I'm cutting out the pattern. So remember that I said that this pattern is for both the front and the back together. So when I'm cutting on my fabric, I'll be folding my fabric into two because the pattern is already open like this. So I'll be folding it into two, and then I'll place to cut both the front and the back together. So guys, at this point, if you're finding this video helpful and interesting, please do well to subscribe to the channel and drop a like, okay? So this is the fabric I'm using. It's a pleated crepe fabric, and I'm making use of 3 yards for this gown. So I'll go ahead to cut out the slash lines open, and then you don't need many of the lines, you just need to spread it very well on your fabric to get the fullness for your ruching effect. So this is how it should look after you're done cutting. So next, I'll go ahead to fold my fabric, like I said, into two to cut out both the front and the back together. So I use my paper tape to hold it on the side. You can make use of pin. So this is how you're going to spread it open, like so. And then the down part, I went ahead to add enough fullness to get that flare effect I want. So like I said before, I folded my fabric into two to cut out the gown, and then I have my front and my back pattern like so. So I will first of all take out my pattern paper and then join the shoulder with 1/2 inch. And then after joining the shoulder, I will go ahead to use the fabric to bias the neckline and also the arm side. And then after doing that, I will be joining the both side of the gown with my sewing allowance of 1 inch. And then the side after the cutout, I'll be sewing and leaving 1/2 inch on my ruche to pass before joining the remaining side with my sewing allowance, okay? So after joining the shoulder, I just want to show you how to use the fabric to bias the neckline. So I folded it into two, and then from one side of the seam, I will start sewing with 1/2 inch. And then after sewing, like so, I will turn it to the inside and then top stitch it. So this is how you do your biasing if you want to use your fabric to bias your neckline or whatever you want to bias. But if you don't like this process, you can make use of a bias, normal bias, okay? So after sewing the rough side, I just went ahead to turn it inside to top stitch it like I said before. So you'll be doing this for the neckline, and you also be doing the same thing for the arm side. So after biasing the neckline, you go ahead to bias the arm side to make it neat. So as you can see, I've gone ahead to bias the neckline and the arm side. So next thing I'll be doing is taking out my sewing allowance. So like I said before, My sewing allowance was supposed to be 1 inch, but because the fabric has a lot of stretch, so I'll be taking out 2 inches. But if the fabric you're working with is not stretchy, then just maintain your 1 inch sewing allowance. Or after sewing, you can go ahead to fit it. If it is loose, then you can amend it to your size, okay? And so for this other side that has the cut open, I'll be taking my sewing allowance of 2 inches, like I said. And then when I'm sewing, I will, after sewing with half an inch, I will leave another space of half an inch before I'll continue my stitch. So I'm leaving that space to pass the rope that is going to serve as a drawstring, okay? So after sewing, this is how it looks. I went ahead to trim up the excess allowance. So for that cut open part, I will also be biasing it using my fabric, and I'll be biasing it inside just like the way I did for the neckline and for the arm side. So we'll make sure that the biasing is big enough for your drawstring to pass. I'll be making use of the fabric to form my drawstring. So whatever you want to make use of, just make sure that that biasing is big enough for your rope to pass, okay? So I took it to my sewing machine to start stitching. So from one side, I started stitching the bias to meet to the other side. So this part you already know how to do it. So just watch closely what I want to show you. So after doing this stitch, I already explained how to fix your bias before. So after sewing your bias to the other end, you notice that there are two rough edges. So you're going to join the two edges together first of all, and then you continue stitching your bias. And then after doing that, you're going to turn it inside to top stitch it, okay? So after I'm done sewing, I'll just go ahead to lose the length I want to use for my zipper on the side that has the shoulder strap, okay? And after doing that, I'll go ahead to fix my zipper. You can use any type of zipper. You can use a ready-made zip or any kind of zipper you want. So I'll be passing the rope that I made using my fabric into the cutout part that I've biased already. I'll be making use of that little space I left, that half-inch space I left when sewing my fabric. So I just went ahead to use my safety pin to pass out the rope to the other side, okay? So after passing the rope, this is how it should look. Now when you wear your dress, you can decide to close the O or make it open depending on what you want. So then the next thing I'll be doing, which is the last thing, I'll be fixing my zipper to the side part like I said before. And then for the hem of the gown, you can use your weaving machine to just weave it, or you can just fold it into two, whatever you want. But I'll be leaving mine like that. So this is how the dress turned out. So tell me what you think about the making of the dress. Would you like to try it out? And if you want to see more tutorials like this on this channel, please do want to subscribe and please turn on your notification bell to be notified when any new video drops. So thank you guys for watching. See you in our next tutorial. Bye.